Hello everybody, and welcome back to Pokemon White. So in the last part, we only just did the daily stuff. Yeah, you know, the usual, getting another fossil, which I really didn't. Getting a different swarm Pokemon this time. Yeah, rather than just being a freaking Farfetch'd again. And after showing off only a few battles, I did some more off-screen training at the Big Stadium Small Court, as you can see. Yeah, now every single one of my teammates is either level 65 or 66. Although, however, yeah, it was only really that I got only some of my Pokemon up to only level 66 from the last video, last video. Yeah, so it was only really like Sigilif, Semisage, and Seismitoad that I really got to raise to their next level ups. Yeah, meanwhile as for everyone else, well actually, aside from Embor too. No wait, I think Embor was at level 65 for the last part. Yeah, I already forgot. Yeah. But anyways, now we're gonna head off to the next route. Oh, wait, but first, before we get to that, yeah, I'm gonna check here first to see if there is any hidden items here. Yeah, now you see why I didn't exactly get to go down here before, because, yeah, if you want to go over there, you actually have to enter the next route before you even think about going there. So, yeah, that's why I didn't go there as we went through Undella Town before. But anyway, always everyone, we are now going to be going through the next route, that being Route 14. Now, starting off with the Pokemon that you can get in this route. Now, just like in some previous routes, you can still find your wild Golducks, wild Drifblims, and even wild Meanfoos as well. And this is also another route where you can actually find wild Meanfoos. And then, as for the Pokemon that we've probably not seen in the wild at this point. Now, first off, not only can you find wild from Behemoths here, but also within the dark grass, you'll be able to encounter wild Mechows. And then, as for the others, now this is also the first route where you can find Jigglypuffs, Shuckles, Altarias, and the Pokemon, and also what you see right now. That being, then of course, being a Tropius, which, as you can see, is definitely making it very complicated for me, considering, yeah, Tropius just so happens to have friggin' synthesis. Yeah. But anyways, everyone, now as for the Pokemon you can find in Wrestling Grass, if you want to skip a Jigglypuff entirely, there are wild Wigglytuffs that you can try to find there. And as for the Pokemon you find the water, it's essentially identical to the Pokemon it is essentially identical to the same ones as in Route 11. Then as for the Pokemon that you can find swarming here, now you can actually, if you're unlucky, you'll be able to encounter swarming Yamas here. But anyways, as we just got Tropius, the fruit Pokemon. Yeah, Tropius is definitely the Pokemon that gives off fruits. Well, it's more so bananas than anything, really. But anyways, now this place, as I should also say about this route as well, this route also has some waterfalls, and if you want to get access to another area, yeah, to another place that you could get access to, then I'm going to need a waterfall, which means Yeah, once I'm done exploring around the areas where I don't need Waterfall for, then I'm gonna have to go back to Undella Town, grab my Weasel, and then have one of my Pokemon not exactly be involved in the area that I'm gonna be going to once I'm done here. Yeah, but anyways, and with that third Golduck, which means we are done here. Yeah, so it was only really Tropius I got to really find. So unfortunately that means we're not seeing Jigglypuffs or Shuckles or even Altarius right now. But anyways, let's just do some battles now. An expert fisherman can time many things perfectly and precisely. Well, if you are a real expert at fishing, that is. But anyways, let's do this. Sid? Barboach. Now, as you can see, Barboach here essentially has the same. Now, Barboach here essentially has the same. Barboach here essentially has the same sprite from Platinum, where it doesn't really move its body all that much, aside from the little different animation that you just saw just then. But anyways, now as for his evolution of Whiscash. Whiscash here, on the other hand, has bred a new sprite, where it essentially just looks like it's really flat, where it's just constantly smiling at you still. Then as for Kavanha here, now also has a brand new sprite. Yeah, where Kavanha really looks like he really wants to bite you real badly. And then as for Corphish here, now I believe this is the first Corphish sprite we've seen. Well, I don't recall this from its Diamond and Pearl sprite. That Corphish, now I definitely recall in Gen 3. That Corphish's sprite definitely looks like he was more so cross-eyed. Yeah, where its eyes wasn't really looking in the same direction. So I don't exactly recall if it's a Gen 4 sprite wasn't cross-eyed, or they actually fixed it, or they actually make sure that Corphish was not cross-eyed. Honestly, I forget. But essentially, the Corphish, but anyways, as for the Corphish sprite for this generation, essentially it has a updated red to it, just like its evolution Crawdon does. But anyways, now as for a Primeape here. Now as for Primeape here, also gets a brand new sprite. Yeah, where Primeape, now he essentially really looks like he really wants to punch somebody. While Primeape is essentially, as for its previous sprites, yeah, Primeape always essentially, previously, Primeape always looks like he really wants to go with a tantrum. Whereas for this generation, Primeape actually looks more calmer. Yeah, honestly, in this generation, Primeape looks like he's more calmer than he usually does. Yeah, as you saw, Primeape essentially just stays in place, and the only time it's really moving its body is where he really looks like he really wants to punch somebody. Yeah. But anyways, now as for a Poliwrath that we are about to see. Now, it is a brand new, but while Poliwrath's sprite, I will say it is new, but I feel like at the same time, it also feels like a more updated version of its Heart Gold and Soul Silver sprite, where, as you can see, where they placed its body and its arms and whatnot. Yeah, if you actually look at them very closely. Yeah, you can see where not only the legs, but also the placement of its arms sort of looks like they may be identical to each other. then again, I still want to say that but I still want to say that Sprite of Poliwrath was, was new. But anyways, now for you. You are the 99th person that I have greeted this way. Let's have a Pokemon battle. Whoa. Well, guess what? I'm probably gonna be the 99th person who has defeated you, Vicky. Yeah, you and your Numel. But anyways, number Numel here also gets a brand new sprite. Yeah, and where Numel's eyes still looks like he really does not give a shit. Where Numel's facial expression definitely looks like where Numel still does not give a shit. But anyways, now for you. Do you understand why trainers and Pokemon are together? Well, if I didn't, then I would have not gone this far into my adventures with Pokemon. Junko. Oh, here it is. Yep, that's right. The bitch cat is back. Purugly. Now, dude. Now Purugly here. Now, as I said previously about a Glameow, where it is essentially a updated version of its Diamond and Pearl sprite, except for, as I said previously, I don't exactly recall about the fur change, if they did that for Hardcore Soul Silver, or for this game. Yeah, the same can be said for Purugly too. But as for Purugly itself, I feel like it is essentially a more updated version of its Diamond. Yeah, I would say Purugly's, on the other hand, I would say it is essentially just a updated version of its Diamond and Pearl sprite. Yeah, but I gotta say, I really do like the animation that they gave to Purugly. And especially when Purugly opens its mouth, where it really looks like it really wants to make sure that you actually fear it. Oh, and she also has Espeon, eh? Okay, now this is Espeon, not Umbreon. Me. But anyways, everyone, Espeon here essentially has the same sprite from Platinum, where you definitely see it definitely likes to move its tail a lot. It's a long tail that Espeon has. Yeah, Espeon really likes to move its tail for quite a bit. Oh, and you also have Lapras. Now Lapras also gets a brand new sprite. Where, yeah, now Lapras definitely looks like he's definitely on the proper size as well. Whereas in the Gen 4 games, yeah, Lapras not only had to bend its neck to essentially fit, to essentially make sure that it wasn't too tall, or for its Hardcore and Soul Silver sprite, I think it looked like more smaller than it was in Hardcore and Soul Silver. Then as for this generation, definitely, I feel like it definitely looked like Lapras definitely looks like it's supposed to be one of those giant-alike a Pokemon and whatnot. But anyways, yeah, you're done. Okay, now, okay, everyone, now I feel like, yeah, I am gonna be going back to Undella Town soon enough in order for me to switch. Now, if I want to switch to the Pokemon that indeed has the waterfall move. But first off, yeah, let me just see if I can do anything with Surf at this time. Oh yeah, I think I see an item just way over there. And it is the Reaper Cloth. Yeah, now we can evolve our Dusclops into Dusknoir. Well, that is if we can actually find one, that is. And if we go over here, we just get an Ultra Ball. Okay. Okay, now I'm gonna be flying back to you. Now it's time to fly back to Undella Town now. Okay, now so I'm just gonna go through this. Now I may as well go over some more anime appearances for some Pokemon. Now, first off, Tropius. Now, even though Tropius has made at least 3 appearances in Horizons, but none of them were really all that major. But yeah, Tropius, even to this day, still doesn't get that much appearances in the anime still. Yeah, I feel like the last major appearance that Tropius got was during Pokemon Journeys. When Team Rocket, I got to utilize one during the. We got to utilize one from the Prize Master. Yeah. Honestly, I still wish for Tropius to at least get more appearances in the anime, but unfortunately, it doesn't. But anyways, everyone, as you saw, yeah, the Pokemon decided to switch out this time was my Crocodile, which means, yeah, all throughout my adventures by going through these waterfalls in the area that we're going to be going to, after getting access to a waterfall, unfortunately, Crocodile is going to be missing out. And yeah, look who's here! Yeah, for those of you who are curious to find out, to know where the hell the last member of the Sages, Giallo, was. Yeah, apparently he's just, he's just been chilling here in Route 14. He's just been chilling in Route 14 this whole time. Yeah, and it takes us now for us to be able to find him. Yeah. Yeah, I would say Giallo is probably the last member that you probably will meet all around the Looker storyline for this generation. Yeah, because, well, you're probably not going to be going through Route 15, like, you're probably not going to be going through Route 15 right out of the gate, so, yeah. But anyways, now after his talk with us about N, excuse me, now it's going to give us the TM for Bulk Up. Now, that is, of course, definitely going to be helping us now, then, of course, that's going to be useful for a Pokemon that you want to give not only a boosted attack, but also a defense to as well. Yeah. The message is that simple and that strong. If change in the world makes you a hero, anyone can become a hero. As each of us, what is in our power to change? So the world itself changes. Yeah, that's what I can say this. And this, of course, is going to be our very last appearance of Looker in this game. I'm an officer of the International Police, and you must supply the information I request. Yeah, just like with all the others. Indeed I shall. Team Plasma changed me, but it could not change the world. I'm looking forward to seeing how Yulon will do. I thank you extremely. Curiously, ditto. There is a topic on which we must speak. A report has reached my ears of someone far from here. Indeed, this is someone that has spotted a person like N and Dragon Pokemon. Yeah, he's talking about N and Reshiram, eh? I depart the Statuate the substance of this information. Until next time, I say cheers. I say cheers. I say cheers to you. Yep. And like I said, that's indeed the last appearance of Lugia that we're going to be seeing in this game. That's until we see him again during the post game of X and post game of X and Y. Then we see him again in the post game of Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Then we see him again in post game of Sun and Moon. And I believe, yeah, then after his frequent appearances in Pokemon Generations, yeah, that was probably the last time that we actually ever see of Looker. Although, that is, unless, if Legend ZA, considering that we are getting the return of Emma, the same person that we also saw, the same person that we also met during the post game of X and Y. Yeah, I wonder if she's gonna be mentioning Looker at some point. And, or possibly, if we actually get a flashback of her with Looker. Although, that is something that we probably don't know until the game actually gets released. But anyways, everyone, now for this guy we're fighting, yeah, he has both a Hippo, Apatas, and Paloswine. So of course, essentially, if we did not find these two earlier, yeah, then this right here would have been our first time seeing them. Okay. Oh, here we go. Now that's for his Probopass. Yeah, I just sort of really like saying that. But as everyone, now as for his Probopass. Now, his sprite is essentially, yeah, I believe it is essentially the same sprite as the one that he got for Diamond and Pearl. But as for Probopass here, now I feel like, I don't exactly recall the actual sprite of Probopass, where I don't exactly recall if Probopass was also floating within Diamond and Pearl. But it is definitely shown within a Gem 5 that considering that Probopass has definitely got more magnetic. Yeah, that's why a Probopass, yeah, definitely looks like he's floating more often. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. And also occasionally you see his mini noses sometimes move around sometimes too. Oh yeah. And this guy says that he will ultimately win, but this is gonna be where he's gonna be defeated. And he's also got an Absol too, huh? So, yeah, essentially, it's the same ordeal as Hippo, Apatas, and Paloswine. If we did not encounter one before, then this would have been our very first one. Yeah, and Absol really wanted to use a move before me. Well, let's review Absol because, yeah, you're gone. Oh, and he also has a Dodrio. Now, a Dodrio essentially has the same sprite for a Diamond. Now, a Dodrio essentially has the same sprite from Diamond and Pearl. But considering that Dodrio is essentially only standing on one foot, yeah, and as you can see with the movement of the three heads, definitely looks like Dodrio not only cannot control of his body, well, as that much, while his free hands are constantly moving around. It's like a Dodrio stand the freak still, for crying out loud. But anyways, now it's for Warren. There's everyone. Now as for Warren here. Now Warren here also has a brand new sprite. But however, the only movement that you really see from Walrein, yeah, it's only really his neck. Yeah, it's only really up to his neck. Yeah, the body parts on top of his neck are mostly moving, where the rest of his body definitely doesn't move all that much, really. But anyways, now with that said, that shall be every single trainer, and that is essentially every trainer that is essentially here in Route 14. Okay. Now as for the area that we're going to be going to, yeah, the only location that you could get to if you get access to Surf. Oh, come on, really? Oh, as soon as the repel wore off, you just had to spawn in Masculine? Come on, really? That is just so friggin' cheap. You are so friggin' cheap, Masculine. But anyways, as I was saying, the area that you can get access to with Waterfall is right over there, which is where we're going to be going to for the next part. And so until then, I'll see you guys next time.